Part 1. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't help it. We all have lines we're not supposed to cross. Some rules we agree on without ever saying them out loud. Like, never fall for your best friend's brother. But what if the rule was already broken before you even realized it existed? What if your heart crossed a line long before your mind had a chance to stop it? My name's Jamie. I'm 18. And this story isn't about love at first sight. It's about love I was never supposed to feel. And the one person I could never admit it to. It all started the summer after senior year, when everything felt like it was about to change, but also like nothing ever would. Me and my best friend Drew had this tradition. Every July, I'd spend a whole week at his place. We'd stay up late playing games, eating junk, and talking about nothing. No rules, no parents, just freedom. But that summer, it wasn't just me and Drew, because his older brother, Ryan, was home from college. And everything changed. I hadn't seen Ryan in almost 2 years. Last time, he was this cocky 20-year-old who barely looked my way. But now he was different. Taller, broader, more serious. He looked like a man. And when he looked at me, something inside me flinched. Not fear, not admiration. Something warmer, more dangerous. Something I didn't want to name. Jamie? Ryan's voice startled me from behind. He was standing at the top of the stairs, towel slung over his shoulder, hair wet from the shower. His jawline sharp, his eyes quiet. "You good, man?" I nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just looking for bathroom." He smirked. "It's where it's always been." I managed a fake laugh. "Right." What the hell was wrong with me? He was Drew's brother. Off limits. Untouchable. And straight. That night, Drew and I were in the basement playing old video games. He was half asleep, mumbling nonsense, when Ryan came downstairs. "Yo," he said, tossing me a Coke. "You're up late." I shrugged. Couldn't sleep. He nodded, sitting down on the floor next to me. Close. Too close. We talked about nothing. College. Video games. The Lakers. But it wasn't the conversation that got me. It was the way he listened. The way his eyes never left mine. For the first time in forever, someone saw me. When he stood up to leave, I expected him to just go. But instead, he paused, then reached down and brushed his knuckles against mine. A small gesture. Quick, meaningless. Except it wasn't. It lingered, burned. And that night, lying on the cold couch with Drew snoring next to me, I stared at the ceiling, wondering what the hell just happened. Did I imagine it? Was I reading into nothing? Or did Ryan touch me because he wanted to? Because he knew? The next day, I tried to avoid him. I stuck with Drew, played dumb, acted normal. But Ryan, he kept showing up. In the hallway, in the kitchen, at the edge of the pool, shirtless, smirking. And every time I felt that same thing, that same warmth rising in my chest, that same panic that maybe I wasn't the only one feeling it. I kept telling myself to stop looking, stop hoping, stop dreaming. But then came the night everything shifted. Drew had fallen asleep early upstairs. I went to grab a water from the kitchen and found Ryan there, alone, leaning against the counter. He looked at me. No smirk this time. Just quiet. And then he said something I wasn't ready for. "You ever feel like you're not allowed to want what you want?" I froze. Heart pounding. "What do you mean?" I whispered. Ryan stared at the floor, then slowly lifted his eyes. "I mean, what if wanting it ruins everything?" And just like that, I knew he wasn't talking about college or life. He was talking about me. That night after Ryan said those words, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, staring at the shadows dancing across the ceiling. Replay after replay of his voice. What if wanting it ruins everything? He hadn't looked at me like Drew's older brother. He'd looked at me like someone who was scared and holding back something huge. Just like me, the next morning, everything felt quiet, like we were both pretending the moment never happened. Drew was loud and oblivious, scarfing down cereal while talking about some girl who ghosted him. Ryan sat across from me, eyes on his phone. But every now and then, I caught him looking and quickly looking away. We were orbiting the same unspoken thing, but neither of us dared name it. Later that afternoon, Drew had to leave for a family errand. He asked if I wanted to tag along. I said no. I lied and said I was tired. But deep down, I wanted to be alone with Ryan. As soon as Drew left, the house got way too quiet. I went to the backyard, pretending to scroll on my phone. Minutes later, I heard the screen door slide open. Ryan stepped out. His hair was a mess. No shirt, just gray sweatpants. Dangerous. He didn't say anything at first. He just sat down beside me on the deck, far too close again. I could feel the warmth of him, feel the questions pulsing in the space between us. Then finally he spoke. "You're close with Drew, huh?" I nodded. He's been my best friend since 8th grade. He gave a soft laugh. He talks about you a lot. Always has. I didn't know how to respond to that. So I said the one thing I knew I shouldn't. "Do you regret saying what you did last night?" Ryan turned his head slowly. His jaw clenched. He looked out at the trees like they held the answer. "I regret saying it out loud," he said, "but not thinking it." My heart skipped. "Ryan." He turned toward me again. This time, there was no smirk, no sarcasm, just raw truth in his eyes. "You scare me," he said quietly. That hit like a punch. I didn't mean to. "No," he said, "not in a bad way." He paused. "You make me feel like I could be someone else, someone I've never let myself be." I stared at him, not knowing whether to run or lean closer. Instead, I whispered, "So what happens now?" Ryan looked at the house behind us. "Drew can't know." "Yeah," I said, heart sinking. "I know." Silence settled. Then Ryan stood up, walked to the edge of the deck. He looked over his shoulder, and he said something I'd never forget. Sometimes the off-limits things are the ones you want most. And with that, he went inside, leaving me on the deck, alone with a heart that wouldn't stop screaming. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed clarity. I needed to know if this thing between us was real, or just me, spiraling. So when everyone had gone to bed, I walked down the hallway and stopped in front of Ryan's door. It was cracked open. My heart pounded. I pushed it open slowly. He was lying in bed, reading. He didn't even flinch. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." He motioned toward the empty space beside him, and I didn't think. I just moved, laid beside him, close but not touching. Our breathing synced. The room felt louder than it should. Then he whispered, "I don't want to hide anymore." And I turned my head toward him. He was already looking at me. That was the first time his hand reached for mine and didn't pull back. That night, lying beside Ryan in the dark, his fingers intertwined with mine. It felt like something sacred. No words, no plans, just warmth, and a silence that said everything we were both too afraid to say. We didn't kiss. We didn't do anything except hold on. Like letting go would ruin whatever fragile thing had just begun. Eventually, I drifted off, right there next to him, heart full, terrified. The next morning, I woke up alone. Ryan was gone, his side of the bed cold, and on the pillow beside me was a folded note. My hands trembled as I opened it. It read, "Don't hate me. I needed to breathe. Please don't tell Drew. My stomach dropped. Was he regretting it? Did he think he'd made a mistake? Or worse, was he scared of who he was becoming around me? The whole day passed without seeing him. Drew dragged me out to lunch with a few guys from school. I laughed when I had to, smiled when they made jokes, but inside, I was spinning. By the time we got back, the house felt like a trap. Drew collapsed onto the couch, pulling out his phone. "Want to binge that horror show tonight?" Yeah, I mumbled, "Sounds good." But my heart was already wandering the halls, searching. I texted Ryan, "Can we talk?" No reply. I waited until Drew was deep into his show. Then I slipped away. Ryan's door was closed, lights off underneath. I hesitated, then knocked softly. No answer, but something in me couldn't walk away. So I turned the knob, pushed it open. He was sitting on the floor beside his bed, back against the wall, head in his hands. "Ryan." He looked up, eyes red, tired. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. I closed the door. I didn't know where else to go. He didn't move. "Ryan," I whispered, "was last night a mistake to you?" He looked away. "No, it was the only real thing I felt in months." My chest tightened. "Then why are you pulling away?" He exhaled. "I don't know who I am around you, Jamie. I've spent my whole life hiding things, pushing them down, pretending. But with you, I can't fake it, and that terrifies me." I moved closer, sat down beside him. "You don't have to have it all figured out. I'm not asking for forever." He turned to me slowly, eyes searching mine. "Then what are you asking for?" I swallowed and told the truth. Honesty. Whatever this is, whatever we are, I just need to know it's real for you, too. His eyes filled. He leaned forward. Our foreheads touched. And for a moment, everything else fell away. "I want you," he whispered. "I just don't know how to want you without destroying everything else." And then, for the first time, he kissed me. Soft, unsure, but real. Like we were both trying to memorize something we weren't allowed to have. It only lasted a few seconds. But when he pulled back, he was already retreating. "Drew's still in the house," he muttered. "We can't. This has to stay between us." I nodded, but the ache was already setting in, because secrets have a way of building pressure. And I knew, eventually, something would explode. Part 2. The kiss didn't leave my lips. It stayed with me all night, the softness of it, the way his breath caught right before it happened. Like even he wasn't sure he'd go through with it, but needed to know what it felt like. And now that I knew, now that I'd tasted something I was never supposed to have, there was no going back. But Ryan, he pulled away so fast. And the look on his face afterward, it wasn't guilt. It was fear. And fear, that can bury something real before it even has a chance to grow. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Drew didn't notice anything. Why would he? To him, everything was still summer games and cold drinks and late-night laughs. But I was a mess, because Ryan barely looked at me. He kept his distance. No more long stares. No secret touches. Like he'd slammed the door shut and bolted it from the inside. I tried not to take it personally. I told myself maybe he just needed time. But every hour he ignored me. It got harder to believe that night even meant anything to him. Until finally, I snapped. It was just after midnight. I couldn't sleep. Again. So I got up, paced the hallway, and before I could talk myself out of it, I knocked on his door. Silence. Then, "Come in." I pushed the door open. Ryan was sitting at his desk, hoodie on, headphones around his neck. He looked tired. Not just physically, but like something inside him was wearing thin. "I can't do this," I said. "Not if you're going to pretend like it didn't happen." He didn't say anything at first, just stared at me. Then finally, he stood, closed the door, and leaned against it. "I'm not pretending," he said. "I'm trying to survive." That hit me like a punch. "Is being near me something you have to survive now?" He shook his head. "No, not being able to want you is." I stepped closer. He didn't move, then stopped fighting it. "I'm right here, Ryan. You don't have to do this alone." He looked down, voice breaking. "You don't get it. If Drew finds out, he'd never forgive me. I'd lose him. And you might walk away, too." "I'm not walking away," I whispered. He finally looked up, eyes glassy, hands shaking, and for the second time, he kissed me. But this time was different. Not soft, not unsure. This kiss had heat, desperation, like he'd been starving for it, and couldn't hold back anymore. When we finally pulled apart, he leaned his forehead against mine, breathing hard. "We're playing with fire," he whispered. I smiled. "Then burn with me." And for a moment, we stopped running. The next morning, everything felt heavier, because now it wasn't just one kiss. Now it was a pattern, a secret, a weight neither of us could carry alone. We didn't know it yet, but we weren't the only ones noticing the shift. Drew was starting to pick up on things. Little things, like how I flinched when Ryan walked into the room, or how Ryan never made eye contact anymore. And then, one afternoon, Drew said something that froze me in place. "You and Ryan V been acting weird lately." "You guys good?" I swallowed hard, managed a shrug. "Yeah, just awkward timing. That's all." He gave me a look. The kind of look best friends give when they're trying to decide if you're lying. "You'd tell me, right? If something was up?" I nodded, too quickly. And in that moment, I realized something. This thing with Ryan, it wasn't just about feelings anymore. It was about choices, consequences. And if we weren't careful, the truth could destroy everything. Secrets are heavy, and the longer you carry them, the more they start to show. Not always in big ways. Sometimes it's in a glance that lingers too long, or a laugh that feels too careful. But people notice, especially people who know you best. Drew had known me since we were 13. He could read me better than anyone. And now, he was reading something I didn't want him to see. "You've been quiet lately," he said, tossing a football back and forth in the backyard. "Like more than usual." I shrugged. "Just tired, I guess." He narrowed his eyes. "You mad at me or something?" That hit me in the chest. "No, not at all. Why would I be?" "I don't know." He paused. "Maybe because Ryan's been weird too." My fingers tightened around the football. "What do you mean?" "He's just been quiet, avoiding stuff. And I see the way you two avoid eye contact now. You think I'm blind?" I try to laugh it off. "Tension, I guess. College stuff. You know how it is." He nodded slowly, but I could tell he didn't fully buy it. The rest of the day was a blur, because my head was spinning. Drew was catching on. And Ryan, he was pulling away again. That night, I texted Ryan, "We need to talk." He didn't answer right away. But 2 hours later, after the house went quiet, my phone buzzed. "Meet me in the garage." I slipped out quietly. Barefoot, heart pounding. He was already there, leaning against the workbench, arms folded, like he'd been rehearsing whatever he was about to say. "Drew's asking questions," I said. Ryan nodded. "I know. Are we that obvious?" He looked at me, tired, sad. "Maybe not to most people," he said. "But to him, yeah." I stepped closer. The air between us charged. Do you regret this? I asked it too quickly, voice trembling, because I already feared the answer. He didn't answer right away, just looked at the floor. I regret the timing, he said finally. Not you. That stung, because I knew what he meant. If you were anyone else, if this wasn't so complicated. Jamie, I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. I've never felt this way. I don't even know what it means yet. I nodded slowly. I'm not asking you to define it. I'm asking you to be real with me, even if it's messy. His eyes finally met mine, and for the first time, he didn't look afraid. I want you, even if it breaks every rule I've ever followed. And then he kissed me again, deeper this time, like he didn't want to stop. But we had to, because the garage door creaked, and we froze. Hello? It was Drew's voice. Panic. Real, full-body panic. Ryan shoved away from me, ran to the corner, grabbed a wrench off the shelf. Just grabbing this, he said loudly, voice way too casual. Drew's shadow appeared in the doorway. You both out here? I stepped out of the corner, trying to breathe normal. Yeah, I needed some air. Drew stared at us, longer than he should have, then nodded slowly. Okay, well, don't stay out too long. Looks like rain. And with that, he left. But the moment he did, I turned to Ryan. We're not going to be able to keep this hidden forever. He nodded. I know. And then came the words that shifted everything. So what happens when he finds out? I didn't have an answer, and neither did Ryan. But I knew that moment was coming, sooner than we thought. After that night in the garage, everything felt different, like we were balancing on a thread, and any wrong step would snap it. Ryan and I didn't speak the next day, not with words, but every glance, every near touch when we passed each other in the kitchen. It said what neither of us dared out loud, that we were already too far in, and way too close to being found out. Drew, meanwhile, was watching, not openly, but in that quiet, sharp-eyed way best friends do when they're connecting dots you never meant to leave scattered. That afternoon, Drew asked me to shoot hoops with him. I agreed, because saying no would have been suspicious. But the whole time, I felt like I was being studied. Hey, he said suddenly, bouncing the ball. You and Ryan ever talk about girls? I froze. Too long. What? I laughed, way too forced. No? Why? Drew shrugged, just curious. Sometimes I wonder if he's into anyone he never says. I swallowed hard, shrugged again. Maybe he's private. Drew dribbled the ball once, then looked straight at me. You'd tell me if something was going on with him, right? There it was, the moment I'd been dreading. I forced myself to nod. Of course. Lie. But what was I supposed to do? Tell him his brother kissed me? Tell him I kissed him back? It would destroy everything. So I kept lying, and hated myself for it. That night, I couldn't keep still. I texted Ryan again. We're getting sloppy. He knows something's off. He replied a minute later. I know. Meet me tonight, after they sleep. At 1:27 a.m., I snuck into the basement. That was our new meeting spot now. Cold, quiet, hidden. Ryan was already there, pacing, hands in his hoodie pockets. As soon as he saw me, he pulled me into a hug. Tight, desperate. I hate this, he whispered. I hate feeling like I'm lying to everyone I care about. You think I don't? I said softly. I can barely look Drew in the eyes anymore. He pulled back just enough to look at me. So, what do we do? Keep hiding until we explode? I didn't answer, because I didn't have one. He sighed, then said something I hadn't expected. Come with me tomorrow. Out of town, just a drive, just us. I blinked. Why? because I need to know what this feels like. Without the hiding, without the walls, just you and me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, because even if it was only for a few hours, he wanted to choose me. I nodded. Okay. And the next morning, while Drew thought we were running errands, Ryan and I drove 2 towns over. We walked through an old record shop, got coffee from a place that didn't ask questions. He smiled more than I'd ever seen. And I swear, I felt like I belonged somewhere, just for a little while. We were standing outside the cafe, sun starting to set, when he reached for my hand, right there on the street, not looking over his shoulder, not checking who might see, just doing it because he wanted to. And then he whispered, "I wish we didn't have to go back." I squeezed his hand. Me too. But we did go back. And when we walked through the door, Drew was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, phone in his lap, staring straight at us. He didn't say a word, but the look on his face told me everything. He knew. Part 3. The door clicked shut behind us, and Drew didn't move. He just sat there, watching us. Ryan dropped his keys on the counter like nothing was wrong, but I felt the tension roll off him in waves. I stepped forward slowly. "Hey, man, we're back." No answer. Drew finally looked at me, his expression unreadable. Then he said one word. "Where?" My throat tightened. I swallowed. Just out, we grabbed coffee and hit a record store. Wanted to clear our heads. Drew tilted his head slightly, still staring at me. Then slowly, he turned to Ryan. "Didn't know you two were that close. Since when do you hang out alone?" Ryan froze. He didn't look at Drew, didn't say anything. And that silence, that said more than words ever could. Drew stood up, voice suddenly sharp. "Tell me the truth. Right now." I could feel my heart thudding in my ears. It was too late to lie. "Drew," I began, but my voice cracked, and he turned to me so fast I flinched. "Oh my God," he muttered. "You're serious." He stepped back, hands on his head, laughing, but not because anything was funny. "You and my brother?" Ryan finally spoke. Quiet. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" Drew snapped. "Because I think my best friend and my brother have been sneaking around behind my back. I think every time I trusted either of you, it was a joke." I stepped forward. "Drew, please, we never meant to hurt you. It just happened." "Don't give me that," he said through clenched teeth. "You don't just accidentally fall in love with someone's brother." Ryan moved beside me. It wasn't a plan. It started as a feeling I didn't understand, and then I couldn't stop it. Drew looked at Ryan, his own brother, like he was seeing a stranger. "You should have told me. Both of you. Instead, you lied. Every day." "I was scared," Ryan said. "I didn't know what this meant for me, what it meant for us." Drew's voice dropped. "And what does it mean now? You think you can just play house while I pretend like none of this happened?" There was silence. Then Drew shook his head, laughing bitterly. "You know what hurts the most? I didn't even notice when I started losing you both." He turned toward the stairs, and my heart dropped. "Drew, wait." He paused at the bottom step. "Just don't. Not tonight." And then he was gone. The silence that followed was unbearable. Ryan sank onto the couch, buried his face in his hands. "I ruined everything," he whispered. I sat beside him slowly. "You didn't ruin it. We just lit a fuse that was bound to burn." He looked at me, eyes full of guilt. "Do you think he'll ever forgive us?" I didn't have the answer. All I knew was we weren't hiding anymore, but the damage had already been done. And now it was time to face whatever came next. The next morning felt like morning. The house was silent, but not the kind that meant peace. It was the kind that meant something broke. Drew didn't come down for breakfast, didn't slam his door, didn't yell. He just disappeared into himself. Ryan and I sat in the kitchen, barely touching our plates. We didn't say much. What was there to say? We'd ripped something open, and now we had to sit in the mess. I should talk to him, Ryan whispered, voice hoarse from a night with no sleep. I nodded. Do you want me to be there? He hesitated. No, he deserves to hear from me first. I wanted to reach out, to hold his hand. But even now, after everything, I knew better than to add fuel to a burning room. Ryan disappeared upstairs, and I sat there, staring at my untouched toast, thinking about every moment that brought us here. I didn't regret loving him, but I regretted the silence, the pretending, the way we made Drew the villain, when all he did was trust us. 20 minutes passed, maybe more, when Ryan came back downstairs. His eyes were red. He's not ready, he said quietly. I stood. Did he say that? Ryan nodded. He said he needs space. My heart sank, not because Drew was mad, but because for the first time in our friendship, I didn't know how to reach him. The day dragged. Ryan kept to himself. I paced around like a ghost. Every sound upstairs made my pulse jump, but Drew never came down. By sunset, I knew I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to try, even if it went badly. I walked up the stairs slowly. Every creak beneath my feet sounded louder than it should. I stopped in front of his door, took a breath, knocked. Nothing. I knocked again, softer this time. Drew, it's me. I'm not here to defend what we did. I miss my best friend. Still nothing. So I kept talking. I know what we did felt like betrayal. And maybe it was... But you've always been the one person I could be honest with. And it was killing me to keep this from you. A beat. Then his voice. Low. Flat. You didn't keep it from me because you were scared. You kept it from me because deep down you knew it was wrong. I felt like I had been punched. Maybe, I said honestly, or maybe I just didn't want to lose you too. Silence again. Then slowly, the door opened. Drew stood there, arms crossed, eyes tired. I'm mad, he said. I'm hurt. I feel stupid. I get it, I whispered, and I'm not asking you to forgive me today. But I need you to know I didn't plan this. I didn't wake up one day and decide to fall for him. He nodded slowly. Doesn't change the fact that you did. I lowered my eyes. No, it doesn't. A long silence hung between us. Heavy, real. Then finally, Drew stepped aside. Come in. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a beginning. And sometimes that's all you can hope for. I stepped into Drew's room, slowly, carefully, like I was walking through a burned-out building, never sure what might collapse. He didn't sit. He just leaned against the desk, arms still folded across his chest, watching me. I don't know what you wanted to say. I told him. But if you need to yell, do it. If you need to hit something, hell, I won't even stop you. He didn't laugh. You think I didn't see it coming? That surprised me. What? The way he looked at you, Drew said, like he was scared to want something, but already did. I looked at the floor. He tried to fight it. We both did. But you didn't tell me, Drew cut in. That's what keeps messing with my head. You trusted each other with it, but not me. I was scared you'd hate me, that you'd feel like I broke some unwritten rule. He raised his eyebrows. You did. Best friends don't fall for their best friend's brother. I swallowed hard. Then I guess I did the unforgivable. No. He let out a breath. I never said it's unforgivable. Just complicated. A pause hung between us. Then Drew finally dropped his arms, sat down on the edge of the bed. Does he make you happy? I blinked. That was the last question I expected. Yeah, I said softly. He does. Drew stared at the floor for a long time, then nodded slowly. Then I'm gonna try. I don't know how long it'll take, but I'll try to be okay with it. I wanted to hug him, but I knew that would be too soon. So I just said, thank you. He gave me a small, exhausted smile. Just, please don't break his heart. He's figuring himself out. You're not just his first real feeling. You're his first risk. Those words stayed with me long after I left the room, because Drew was right. This wasn't just about us anymore. This was about what it meant to be someone's risk and not let them fall. Downstairs, Ryan was still curled up on the couch, clutching a throw pillow like it was the only thing holding him together. I sat beside him. He looked at me nervously. How bad was it? I gave a faint smile. He's not screaming. And he asked if he made me happy. Ryan blinked. Seriously? Yeah. And I told him you did. His hand found mine between the couch cushions. Fingers warm. Steady. I want to do this right, he whispered. No more hiding. No more hurting people we care about. I nodded. Then we start here, with honesty and patience. We sat there quietly. The storm wasn't gone, but it had passed for now, and for the first time in days. I let myself believe we might survive this, not just as a secret, but as something real. Part 4. That night, it rained. Hard. Like the sky was washing away everything we couldn't. Ryan and I stayed in the living room. Lights dimmed. Blanket over both our legs. We didn't say much at first. Just listened to the storm. And let silence do what it needed to. Then quietly, Ryan spoke. I've never told anyone, he said. Not even myself, really. I turned to him, watching him closely. Told anyone what? That I like guys. That I like you. It was always easy to bury it. To date girls, say the right things, blend in. I didn't interrupt. He needed to say this out loud. I thought if I ignored it long enough, it'd go away, he continued. But then you walked in last summer, wearing that dumb red hoodie. And I couldn't stop looking. I smiled faintly. I didn't think it was dumb. He smiled too, tired but real. You were always around, he said, like part of the furniture in our lives. But that day, you weren't just Drew's best friend anymore. You were you, and I saw you. His voice cracked a little at the end. I hated it, not because it was wrong, but because it made everything harder. He turned to me then, eyes glassy, voice low. I was afraid if I touched this part of myself, I'd lose everything else. You haven't lost me, I said, not even for a second. He looked at me like he was still learning how to believe that. I wish I were braver, he whispered. Like you. I shook my head. No, you're braver than you think. You let yourself feel something real. That's terrifying. And you're still here, still fighting for it. His hand found mine again beneath the blanket, fingers tracing mine slowly. I still don't know what I am, he admitted. I don't have a label. I'm not ready for one. You don't need one, I said. You just need to be honest with yourself and with me. That's all I've ever wanted. The wind outside howled louder, but inside, for the first time in weeks, it felt calm. He leaned his head against my shoulder, and I felt the weight of what this moment meant. I'm scared, he whispered, of being seen, of messing this up, of hurting you, like I did, Drew. I rested my head on his. We'll mess up. We're human. But I'd rather mess up with you than pretend we never had this at all. He didn't reply. He just exhaled, like he'd been holding it in for years. And in that quiet, I felt something new between us. Not just chemistry, not just risk, but trust, the real kind, the kind that builds slowly and changes you forever. It was Ryan's idea, to go out, to stop hiding in corners and shadows. "Let's get out of the house," he said. "Somewhere normal, somewhere no one knows us." I agreed, not because I believed we wouldn't be seen, but because I wanted him to see what it felt like, to breathe in the open. We ended up at a small town fair, about 40 minutes away. It smelled like funnel cake and rain-damp grass, and it was loud, but the good kind. Ryan looked around like he hadn't been a kid in years. "Wow," he muttered. "People really ride those death traps?" I laughed, and he smiled, the kind that made his whole face soften. We shared cotton candy, watched a group of kids lose their minds over goldfish, and then, near the Ferris wheel, he reached for my hand, not like he was daring himself, not like he was testing limits, just because, and I let him, because I wanted to. We got in line, and for a few perfect minutes, we were just two people in the world. No history, no lies, no fear. But fate is cruel when you start to feel safe. As we reached the front of the line, I heard it, a voice I hadn't expected in a million years. "Wait, is that you?" We turned. Standing there, holding a lemonade and looking stunned, was Alyssa Carter, an old friend from school, the kind who posts everything online and doesn't miss a detail. I dropped Ryan's hand so fast. It felt like I'd been burned. "Alyssa, hey!" I tried to smile, tried to act normal, but my voice cracked. Ryan stood frozen beside me, his jaw clenched. He didn't say a word. "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever," Alyssa said. Then her eyes drifted to Ryan. "Wait, is that Drew's brother?" I laughed, awkward, forced. "Yeah, we just ran into each other here. Crazy, right?" I could feel the lies spilling out of me, ugly and cheap. She tilted her head. "Oh, okay," she said. But her eyes told me she didn't believe it. At all. We left the line a few minutes later. Didn't even wait for the ride. Back near the parking lot. Ryan stopped walking. "You dropped my hand like it was nothing." His voice wasn't angry. "Just hurt. I didn't mean." "Yes, you did," he cut in softly. "And I get it. You panicked. But it's different for me." He looked away, blinking fast. I finally let myself want something. I held your hand because I didn't care who saw. But the second someone did, you let go. The guilt sank deep into my chest. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I wasn't ready for her, for what she might post, who she might tell. He nodded slowly. "I'm not mad. I'm just tired." We stood there in the dark, beside the blinking carnival lights, wondering if the world would ever feel safe enough to just exist. Then Ryan reached for my hand again, slower this time, waiting to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. Not this time. "I'm still here," I said, "and I'm not letting go." Not anymore. The morning after the fair, I woke up to a text, one that made my stomach twist. "Alyssa Carter, hey, just wanted to say, you don't have to pretend. I saw what I saw. Your secret's safe with me. For now." For now. Those two words said everything. They weren't a threat, but they weren't a promise either. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. Then Ryan's name lit up. "Ryan, want to go somewhere? Just us." I didn't tell him about Alyssa's message. Not yet. We ended up at a quiet lake an hour out. It was calm, blue, like I hadn't seen the kind of chaos we carried in our chests. Ryan skipped rocks across the surface, and I watched him, trying to memorize his piece. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I used to come here when I was younger, back when I still felt like I was pretending to be someone. You mean before all this? He nodded. Before I knew why I didn't feel what other guys did when they talked about girls. Before I realized I wasn't just confused. I stayed quiet. You want to know something stupid? He asked. There was this guy, senior year. We weren't even close. But once he caught me looking. My heart tightened. What happened? Ryan's smile was bitter. He shoved me into a locker the next day. Didn't say anything. Just shoved me. Hard. I closed my eyes. I could see it so clearly. I never told Drew, Ryan said. I was scared he'd ask why. And I didn't want to lie. But I also wasn't ready to tell the truth. He sat down on the edge of the dock, feet dangling above the water. I've hated that version of me, he whispered. The one who let fear win. I sat beside him, close enough that our shoulders touched. You weren't weak, I said gently. You were surviving. He looked at me, eyes full of something raw. I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live. I reached for his hand, held it tight. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text from someone I hadn't heard from in months. A known number. You should probably know what's being said about you at school. People are talking. I didn't even have to open Instagram. I already knew. Alyssa, she hadn't kept it to herself. Ryan saw the look on my face. What is it? I hesitated, but then handed him the phone. His face fell. He read the message. Twice. So, it's happening, he said. Voice low. No panic, just acceptance. I waited for the breakdown, but it didn't come. Instead, he looked up at me and said, I'm done being afraid. He stood, pulled me up with him, and right there, with no crowd, no camera, no fake safety, he kissed me, soft, real, like a promise whispered through a storm. And I'd kiss him back, knowing that whatever came next, we wouldn't be hiding anymore. Part 5. We got back to the house late. The lake still in our hair. That kiss still lingering on my lips. The world outside was shifting, but for a while we had felt untouched, until we walked through the front door and saw Drew, sitting at the kitchen table, phone in his hand, jaw locked. He looked up, right at us. You saw it? Ryan asked softly. Drew nodded, then turned the screen toward us. There it was, a blurry photo of us at the fair. Ryan holding my hand, posted by Alyssa. Caption, guess this is what bro code looks like now, woman shrugging, #spicy. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, some confused, some cruel. I felt my stomach turn. Ryan stepped forward. I was going to tell you, before this, we just needed time. Drew stood up slowly. You needed time? His voice was calm, but that made it worse. You said you were going to try. I said gently, we weren't hiding from you, Drew. We were trying to figure it out. Drew laughed dry. I said I'd try. I didn't say it wouldn't still sting. He looked at Ryan. You really let the entire internet find out before I did? Ryan flinched. It wasn't like that. We didn't even know she was there. I believed you, Drew said. I believed both of you. I defended you when people asked questions. I kept my mouth shut when the rumors started. And this, he held up the phone. This is how I find out it's more than a phase. The word hung heavy. Phase. Ryan's voice cracked. It was never a phase. It was never just curiosity. I love him. The room went quiet. Drew blinked. What? Ryan stepped closer. His hands were shaking. I didn't want to say it like this. Not in a storm. Not in a fight. But it's the truth. I love him. And somehow, that changed everything. Drew sat back down. The anger seemed to drain from his face. You know what hurts the most? He said quietly. That I'm not mad because it's him. I'm mad because you didn't trust me. My throat tightened. You're right. We didn't. We messed up. Drew looked between us. But I can't stop you from being who you are. And I won't be the reason you hide again. Ryan's eyes filled. Really? Drew nodded. Just give me time to catch up to you guys. Then he stood, and before he walked upstairs, he looked at Ryan and said, "Take care of him, or I swear I'll take you down myself." Ryan smiled through wet lashes. "Deal." And just like that, everything wasn't perfect, but it was possible. Ryan didn't hesitate. He texted her that morning. No pleasantries. "Ryan, we need to talk, face to face." Alyssa replied within minutes. "Alyssa, fine. Meet me at Bridgeview Cafe in 30. He told me not to come. "This one's mine," he said. I watched him drive away, and all I could do was trust that he'd come back with more than silence. Alyssa was already there when he arrived. Sunglasses on, iced coffee in hand, phone face down. She looked up, smiled like she hadn't blown up his entire life 24 hours earlier. "You look tired," she said. Ryan didn't sit. "Why'd you post it?" "Why me?" She sighed, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Because it was real. Because you looked happy. And because you weren't supposed to." That last part hit harder than he expected. What's that supposed to mean? Alyssa took off her sunglasses. Her eyes looked tired, too. "Senior year. We went on one date, remember?" Ryan blinked. "You mean that movie night with your friends?" "That wasn't a date. It was to me. I thought it was the beginning of something. You texted. You laughed at my jokes. You were sweet." She leaned back, and then you ghosted me. No explanation, no warning. You just disappeared. Ryan's jaw tightened. I was struggling. I didn't know what I was. I didn't want to lead you on. "You already had," she snapped. "You flirted with me, made me feel seen, and then vanished like it didn't matter." He finally sat down. I was scared. Not of you. Of me. Alyssa looked away. "I know that now. But when I saw you at the fair, with him, holding his hand like it was easy," she looked back, eyes wet. "I wanted to remind you that it wasn't easy for everyone else. Not for the people you left behind." Ryan's throat tightened. "You wanted to hurt me?" "No," she said. "I wanted to matter to you. Just once." Silence. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry it came out like that. I didn't mean for it to blow up." Ryan nodded slowly. "I'm sorry I hurt you. I never meant to." Alyssa gave a half smile. "I know that now. But maybe next time, just say something, even if it's messy." He stood. "It's always messy. But I'll try." She looked up at him. I took the post down. "Can't undo the shares. But maybe it slows the damage." Ryan gave her a small nod. "Thanks." Then he walked out, lighter somehow. Not because everything was fixed, but because the truth had finally been spoken. He texted me as soon as he got into the car. "Ryan, on my way. I want to tell you everything. No more hiding." And for the first time in a long time, there was nothing left between us but truth. Ryan came over that night. No hoodie, no mask, just him, honest, nervous, brave. I opened the door, and he didn't even wait. He pulled me into a hug so tight. I almost forgot how complicated everything had been. "I told Alyssa the truth," he said into my shoulder. "And I'm done pretending. About everything." We sat on my bed, knees touching, hands tangled. He told me about the lake, about the boy from senior year, about how long he'd hated the silence inside him. And I listened, Because sometimes loving someone means letting them lay down their scars in your lap. I'm not proud of how we got here, he said, but I'm proud that I stayed. You didn't just stay, I whispered. You chose this. You chose me. Then he kissed me, soft and slow, like he didn't want the moment to end. We were interrupted by a knock. Not on the door, on the window. We froze. And then, a voice. Open up. I'm not climbing through this bush again. Drew. Ryan opened the window. Half laughing, half panicked. Drew climbed in and just stood there for a moment, looking at us. I figure I should stop being the last to know everything, he said. Ryan stepped forward, hands slightly raised like he was ready to explain. But Drew just shook his head. No more speeches. I get it. I've had time to think. He walked over to me. I was pissed, not because of you, because I felt stupid for not seeing it. I swallowed hard. I didn't want to lose you. He gave a small, crooked smile. You won't. You're my brother now, too. Just, next time you fall in love with someone, maybe don't let them be my actual brother. We laughed, all three of us, for the first time in a long time. Then Drew reached into his hoodie pocket, pulled out something small, a photo, old, faded, of the three of us years ago. Me, Drew, and Ryan, sitting on the same couch we were on now, back before anything had changed, before love and truth and fear got in the way. I kept it, Drew said, because even when I was mad, you were always family. And that was the moment I realized some stories don't need to be hidden. They just need time to be told. We were no longer secret, not a rumor, not a whisper. We were a beginning, one that had been off limits, but was ours now, ours to hold, ours to fight for, ours to never let go of again.